income tax. Just to clarify from your comments, you said the key part is not to increase the overall tax burden, but is that something that you can guarantee?
Well, at the moment there's a discussion taking place with the states and territories, and what I said this morning is the problem we're trying to fix is that there is a mismatch between the levels of government that spend the money and control all the costs, and then the Commonwealth, which is continually asked to stump up extra funds. Now, when you separate the person who's controlling the costs from those who actually have to fund them, then I don't think that's a very good principle. And what the Prime Minister and I are trying to do is, I think, start to resolve that issue. Now, it was last year that it was actually the South Australian government that first raised the idea about being able to spread their revenue base, the risk on their revenue base, beyond GST and to go into things like income tax. Now, we undertook to, keep working on that with them, and where we've got to now as a product of that process. But I certainly wouldn't be sort of jumping ahead on anything here. It's something which we have to work closely with the states, and we'll keep doing that.
But I guess.
But the point is, you're right, the point is this isn't about raising taxes at all. This is about giving greater autonomy to states to have greater control over their own budgets and greater accountability for their budgets. And the Prime Minister made it pretty clear today also that we have no appetite for states to be able to increase taxes. What we want to see happen is for states to be able to better use the resources and be accountable for the resources that they have, and act as sovereign governments, which I know is their ambition, and not be treated as branch officers of the Commonwealth.
But it is possible then for the tax burden to be increased, because the Prime Minister did say today that in the future states would be free to increase their income tax rates, which would in fact increase the overall tax burden.
Well, the Prime Minister I don't think has gone that far ultimately. I think what we've seen today is an idea which is being explored with the states and territories, and very much it started with their initiation on this. So, I mean, the Australian people expect us to work collaboratively and cooperatively with the states and territories to try and fix these problems. Now, this is something that has come up in the course of those discussions. We'll see if we're able to come to an agreement with them, but I wouldn't be expecting that in the short term. This would be a much longer process, and the real issues are, frankly, how we can continue to keep our tax burden low. Our political opponents, they're the ones who want to apply an additional $7–8 billion in new and extra taxes. That's certainly not something that we wish to do. They're the ones who want to increase taxes. We're the ones who want to, wherever we can, reduce taxes, and we've got the form for that. We got rid of the carbon tax, we got rid of the mining tax, we got rid of the bank deposits tax, and we have a track record of cutting taxes, not increasing them.
How would this, though, deliver lower, simpler and fairer taxes? At face value, the potential for 8 different tax rates across Australia seems more complex, if anything.
Well, I think people at the moment are responding to the speculation, and at the moment we've got to sort of continue this discussion with the states and territories. It's certainly our view that it's important to keep the tax levels at the levels they're at, or reduce them wherever we can. But we've also got to understand that state governments also want greater autonomy over how they spend their money. I mean, presently we have transfer payments to the states in the order of $50 billion a year, and that's on top of the GST revenue, and those $50 billion in payments are all in tied-up grants. And that doesn't give the states a lot of flexibility over their own budgets. And the states are saying to the Commonwealth that they would like greater autonomy over their own budgets. And at the moment it's tied up in a lot of very specific partnership payments, which doesn't give them the sort of range that they are expressing that they would like to have.
Is this an admission, though, this initiative, that you can't find additional savings to fund schools and hospitals?
No, that's not. It doesn't mean that at all. What this is about can potentially, and I would expect to be, revenue neutral, certainly in the short term. I mean, income tax revenues are growing at a different rate to consumption tax revenues. And what the states have said to the Commonwealth is that they would like to spread their revenues over more than one source. Now, that can all be done in a completely revenue neutral way, and our view has always been if there's additional areas of expenditure, then you have to offset that with the savings in other areas, and that's been our record as a government. Where there's been new expenditure, we have been able to pay for it with savings. What our opponents have done is they want to raise $7 billion in extra taxes. They've only found $1 billion worth of savings, and they have $60 billion of additional expenditures that they're hoping to fund with it, and that just doesn't add up.
Is it a concerning concept, though, to have states competing with each other for investment, you know, to have different tax rates? Couldn't that create a somewhat tense environment if states try and undercut each other? And then could that imbalance, I guess, create, as a result, less funding for hospitals and education?
Well, that would be a matter for states and territories. I mean, we already have a competitive environment. I've always favoured competitive federalism over collusive federalism. A competitive federalism where states are very much trying to grow their own economies and grow the job opportunities. I mean, that's what this is about. I mean, the reason you engage in these discussions is to ensure you're spending public money better because it's given to you by the taxpayer, and you're trying to drive jobs and growth. I mean, that's our clear agenda. We don't want to see taxes go up. We want to see taxes stay at the very most where they are and preferably go down. And that's our record as a government of reducing taxes. We've got to make sure the money's well spent, though.